Daniel Barnard from Capital Fit.
Thank you, Susan.
We have Dr. Richard Jacoby, author of Sugar Crush. Nathan mentioned him a few moments ago. And Steven Mccain, who is a former athlete, fitness and nutrition expert, entrepreneur, lots of titles. And shall I hand it over to you, Daniel?
Sure, sounds great.
Wonderful.
Susan, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Nathan Bryan. That was fantastic. We're all here in this innovative space, this beautiful space of Sterling Club. I'm excited to be here to moderate two titans in their fields. Dr. Rick Jacoby, author of Sugar Crush, and soon to be released his sequel called Unglued. And nitric oxide is one of the solutions to help us get unglued. So then we have Steven Mccain here, a former Olympian of McCain Health and Fitness. And I'm delighted. I came up with several questions to kind of keep things interesting here and keep things lively. And I think I'll just go ahead and start. How about it, huh? Last night we were at the Sahara, right? At the Casbar, and we did it with kind of a spoof. Like I had two fighters here, right? We had two competing kind of ideas of how to keep health and keep fitness, right? And that was a lot of fun. But I'm not sure. I think it was a draw, though.
Yeah, well, I think we were both secretly driving towards the same endpoint, and we just played it out, and we got there.
All right, well, to keep things flowing here, I'll just go ahead and start with the first question here. You gentlemen, Steven and Dr. Jacoby, you're both in fantastic shape, okay? And Rick and I were on the elevator yesterday. We got on the elevator. We had a couple that looked at us and said, "Are you brothers?" So that was quite a compliment.
He's my father.
That's right. But obviously, so Rick, what is your secret to your health and wellness? Because what is your wealth without your health, right?
Absolutely, and having Dr. Nathan here today on the nitric oxide, that's a key component. So sugar, to me, is the crux of the problem. And looking at that breakfast this morning, those donuts should get off the table. People are about to die. So my new book, in contradistinction to my other book, my new book is called Unglued. So I'm going to ask the audience what the word glucose means, because I did not know what this meant other than the biochemistry of it. Anybody have a venture idea what the word actually means? Well, it's a Greek word. It means to adhere, to stick together. It's glue. So the prefix is glue, G-L-U, Greek word, and O-S-E. It means a sticky substance, which is sticking everything together. Cardiovascular disease, that's how the plaque forms from the glue on the surface of the endothelium that Dr. Bryan talked about, and that's what causes the plaque to stick, the cholesterol. So nitric oxide is the first molecule that causes that cascade of events.
Absolutely.
So
avoid sugar. That's how you've maintained your health. And pickleball.
Well, pickleball is essential.
Absolutely. And tennis. Steven, you have a history of being in phenomenal shape and watching your diet.
Yeah, I mean, I was an Olympic gymnast, but when I retired, it was like a rug pull, so I became very undisciplined. And being a professional athlete kind of promotes a little bit of like a binge party mentality, because you only have a small window. So you go somewhere across the world and you compete at a super high level, then you party for one day, and then you go back to training. And when I retired, it was like, well, there's no more discipline. It just became one big party for a couple of years, and I got pretty unhealthy, and I lost a lot of what I had built up as an athlete. And I said, I feel like this is killing me, and I decided to change my lifestyle. And for me, I think one of the most important things is having a framework for your health. So at the top of that framework is mindset. Everything starts with a decision. If you don't care about your health, you're not going to make good decisions. You have to. For some people, they have to have a doctor tell them, you are trending towards this, or you have this thing, and then that starts the mindset, right? That starts a decision where they go, my health is now my priority. Make it your priority, because you're better at everything when health is a priority. Everything. You can't help anybody if you can't help yourself. That's kind of my philosophy. But underneath that is the basics. So, sleep, massively important, nutrition, exercise. I'm a huge proponent proponent of exercise. It positively affects every pathway of aging, and the more in shape you are, the more you're able to actually sustain and charge those pathways. So I think it's a positive feedback loop. Whereas sleep is sort of a zero-sum game. You either got it or you didn't. So mindset, sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and then managing your environmental toxic load, because we live in a toxic world, and then getting the hell out of the sick care system, getting more into working with real doctors that can treat the real problem as opposed to just putting a Band-Aid on it, functional medicine, integrative physicians, and then leveraging things like supplements, peptides, stem cells, nitric oxide, adjuvant supplements, and using those to optimize those categories that I said. You have this suite of tools at your availability, and then be consistent, right? So I know it's a kind of a long answer, but
last night during the big slugfest at the Sahara Casbah, the topic of carbohydrates came up. An athlete, back in the day, would load up on pasta before a big soccer match, right? And of course, Rick, you're the urban carnivore believer, and so I didn't quite, I think there was a draw on that too, as to sort of, should we be eating carbs and pastas and good grain breads or just meat?
Well, if you ask me, we are carnivores. There's no question about that. Lucy, our first primate, was a carbohydrate loading primate, and she morphed over to become a carnivore, and that's who we are physiologically. Now, can we eat carbohydrates? Yes, but it's not essential. You can function only with meat. That's what the carnivore diet means. Now, a little boring, perhaps, but certainly healthy. Now, being an urban carnivore, not like Lucy, she lives in a cave out in the forest. We have to live in an urban environment, and that's the critical difference. That's why I like this conference. So we need to be able to measure these functions, such as blink with their optical eye monitoring, and also MedWatch is another great company, and of course Dr. Nathan's nitric oxide. So we need all the measurement devices to ascertain where we're at with what we're eating in real time. We had a doctor yesterday, a doctor Zahanser, a friend of mine, he had a retinal detachment. How's your diet? Oh, it's good. Well, no, it isn't, because he had an A1C that over the last 3 months, yes, maybe he was average, but he's spiking his sugar, plus trauma, and a retinal detachment. You mentioned stem cells. That's my ultimate goal as an urban carnivore. I do stem cells. That's what my new book is about. Unglued, how to get unglued. Stem cells are the solvent to dissolve the effects of glucose on any disease, from Alzheimer's to autism, from MS, diabetic neuropathy. In my opinion, all these diseases are the same. And that's somewhat in my first book, but very detailed in my second book. So we're in a lot of agreement, so I think it was a draw.
Yeah, I ultimately, if we keep talking, we'll get to the same thing. I look at it as we all have blood sugar in us right now. You have blood sugar stored in your cells, glycogen, right? There are times when you deplete that. So there are times when you're more of a sponge and can accept a larger load of glucose right after a training. I work out consistently. I am going to be a different profile than somebody who is sedentary, who never works out. I have a window where I can accept and take sugar. So, when we look at like a head of broccoli and a piece of chocolate, they both break down to the same thing at different speeds. Glucose. At the end of the day, once they're fully broken down, broccoli is a carb. So our vegetables are carbs. Our guts, if you look at them, are designed to digest meat and vegetables. There are certain animals, if you look at their guts, they're only able to digest plants. They're only able to digest meat. We can do both. We're adaptive. So for me, I live an athletic lifestyle. I live an active lifestyle. So I have to incorporate more carbs into my diet in order to keep myself feeling in my mood okay. If I try to go pure carnivore or pure keto the way I work out, my mood suffers. I lose a little bit too much fat. I start getting into low single-digit body fats, and then I run the risk of getting sick. So it's, every food carb has a speed at which it gets converted into glucose, and then your lifestyle determines at what speed you need those, right? If I never work out, I need the slow carbs. If I work out, then right after I work out, I need faster carbs. The whole point is to measure your blood glucose, and so it doesn't blip into a pre-diabetic state, right? So at the end of the day, we're both kind of saying, in an ideal scenario, you have a wearable that says, hey, what you just ate violates you, regardless of what your lifestyle is or whatever it is. Stop eating that with whatever you just did.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have Blank Frames, Josh Park up here talking about what his technology platform is going to do for folks and getting that information that you need to determine what carbs you need, what meat you need, what vegetables you need, and then to take the nitric oxide and others to really get you to your peak performance. So you're obviously both very well known in your respective worlds. You have a great podcast show, don't you? What's that called again?
It's just the Steven Mccain podcast. Steven is with a PH.
Absolutely. Rick has a podcast called Sugar Crush Jacoby. So what's the most surprising thing that you tell folks that people don't really know about you?
About me?
Yes.
Well, that's a big question. I don't know. My training is so different than most people because I started as a traditional doctor doing traditional medicine and surgery. But 25 years ago, I ran into Dr. Dillon out at Johns Hopkins, who taught me peripheral nerve surgery. And then I progressed from there to Stanford on the biochemistry of nerves. And Dr. Cook is now head of stem cell research at Baylor. So I know the medicine, I know the surgery, and I know the stem cells very, very well. I've used stem cells myself for my patients for 15 years. I didn't even know you were doing stem cells, exosomes. FDA this year is trying to outlaw all of this stuff. Why? Because it works. Not because it doesn't work, and not because it's not safe. I had a herniated disc 8 years ago, scheduled for surgery. I said to my neurosurgeon, let's try stem cells. Not enough research. One shot, 3 days, I'm back playing tennis. It works. There are clinics outside the United States, like in Mexico or Panama. They use stem cells. We're not allowed to use IV stem cells in the United States, and we can't use stem cells out of what they call homologous use. That's in my book. It's a very complicated formula and designed to make sure you're not getting cured. So one of my chapters I call Slow Walking the Cure. This congregation here today has the means, has the technology, has the measurement to solve this problem. The U.S. government will not solve this problem. They're in bed with the FDA. And we're going to go bankrupt as a country if this is not solved. So I applaud everybody here. And there's some amazing people I talked to last night and today, just amazing. So I agree, fundamentally, we're both in the stem cell track. I'm a very conservative person on the sugar. You only can eat 4 grams of sugar at any one time. That's it, 1 teaspoon. The average American is about 35 teaspoons of sugar a day. That'll cause disease. You got to get it under 4 grams. That's very hard to do. But if you do have the damage, you're 60, 70, 80 years old age, stem cells will solve it, so it doesn't really matter. Party on.
So tell the audience something that typically people don't know about you, Steven.
Well, I think most people think because I was an Olympic gymnast that, it's so easy for you, to look like the way you look at 50 and you clearly must just love working out. And I tell them, because I'm a big advocate of exercise, I think it's such an amazing regenerative medicine modality in itself. And I tell people, I'm like, you don't understand, like when you've worked out like I have, and I've been through periods in years that I haven't worked out, but for someone who has almost 4 decades experience of consistent working out, exercise, I have had way more days of not wanting to work out and feeling terrible than I have ever, oh, this is amazing and I feel great. However, because I work out consistently, I feel like I have way more days of I feel excellent as a whole than most people do. I don't know too many people that don't have very much body pain and are as strong and as flexible as they are at my age. And that's not because I was looking generous, because I've kept it, I've worked it. But the point I'm trying to say is that, you know, this stuff takes work, but yet it's so simple, you know, like it's like, you know, the products that we, you know, are looking at today, like the nitric oxide. I take one of those in the morning, I take one of them in the evening. Thank you, Nathan Bryan, appreciate it. You know, like the stuff that you learn at these things, you can bring them in. This Medtech watch, I spoke with the president yesterday of it. I'm like, I am ready for this when it comes out. I want to be a guinea pig. I want to be using it. I want to, you know, and so it's being curious. It starts with that mindset, you know, being open-minded, saying, I want to have health. And then when you learn about these things, too many people sit on the sidelines for way too long instead of saying, you know what, let me try these nitric oxide lozenges. Let me try it.
So people want to get your collective years of experience to help them. How do they get a hold of you?
You can go to StevenMcCain.com. That's Steven with a PH. You can follow me on Instagram at smccain, MCCAIN.
So you do individual consultations to
Yeah,
get people
yeah,
to
so-
peak performance,
Yeah, so
regardless of where they are.
regardless of where you are, you can, I have various channels that you can come and learn. If you like the way I view things, you know, if you feel like I'm speaking to you and you like the way I kind of frame it, come check me out, reach out.
Rick, how do people find you for stem cells and for individual consult and, you know?
Well, I have a couple of different websites, but I think the main one for the course that I'm trying to put on that's being a urban carnivore is drjacoby.academy.
That's drjacoby.academy.
Academy. So that'll take you through all these modalities that here from MedWatch, Blink, nitric oxide for sure, LED therapy. They all have a way of restoring the endothelium that Dr. Nathan talked about, and that is key to longevity. And then stem cells will work. If you continue this diet, don't do those things, might as well eat what you want because you're not going to make it.
Well, Rick, I had to be in the middle of you guys so you wouldn't like battle up here. We had our battles yesterday, so I'm glad we're going to wrap up here. We've got 20 seconds to go. Thank you, Steven Mccain. Thank you, Dr. Jacoby. It's been fantastic and enjoyed the time here together.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah.
You have a question over here?
Any questions out here in the audience? Anybody has any questions you want to stand up and just sort of?
Stem cell technology.
Yep.
We can hook you up. And also Medtech has done presentations via Alan Stone, so they're excellent too. And like I said, we can hook you up with STEM Tech and you can work with us because they're already on Wall Street and they're doing well. So, you know, but that can help boost it up a bit. Because I do a lot with healthcare stuff because the world needs a lot of healthcare these days.
Any other questions? Right here?
Hi, I'm Jen Simmons, a board-certified surgeon and functional medicine physician. I thank you both for your debate. I see both sides, but what I don't understand is while we debate if we should be carnivores or herbivores, and we all agree that sugar is bad, why do we equate sugar from processed grains with the carbohydrate that's in broccoli? I just feel like it's an unfair comparison. Like when we're talking about carbohydrates, I think that we need to be more specific because I'm not sure that anyone is getting chronically ill from eating too much broccoli.
I think it's a great point. And people, they don't think of vegetables as carbohydrates. They think of them as just some thing from the Amazonian that it has its own category. You want to get somebody to lose weight, put them on a meat and vegetable diet. Now there are anti-nutrients in some vegetables that some people, it doesn't, sit well with them. Again, testing is key. Always be testing your body to kind of fine tune your diet. But I think I agree with you 100%. I can't stand it, when it's like we don't clearly define what it is we're going to talk about.